Thank you so much. And first, thank you to each and every one of you for the service that you are providing to your town. And thanks to the officers that are hopefully either with us or watching that are providing service to our entire state. I want to call attention because it sort of got shuffled into some of your other statistics. You mentioned officers taking their own lives. And I just, as we were sitting here, was looking up what the number for that is. So compared to civilians, police officers take their own lives at a rate of 54% more. And I want to make sure that that's out there, because for the privilege of leaving your homes and your families and going out into our communities to protect all of us, you put yourself in risk and in harm's way every single day for us. But in addition, you put yourself at risk for higher illnesses, whether it's mental illness, whether it's disease of addiction, whether it's taking your own lives. And so for that privilege, we have said, well, we're going to, because we don't like unions over the years, we're going to move you to defined this and defined that. I recognize that at least the defined benefit is covered federally by the PBGC. So somebody mentioned if a town went under or had some financial crisis, at least that would be covered, right? I'm correct in that?
Correct, yes.
But I think that when we talk about those 401ks, you really are, you're at the whim of the market, right? So that's one issue that we see for sure. I think that we are discounting how much this is affecting your ability to recruit. And I say that because even though it has come up over and over again in this discussion, I think if we surveyed everyone on here and they went back to their chiefs and they said, what's one of your biggest issues? This is one of the biggest issues, because people are still showing up to try to get into the academy, to try to become police officers, but there is this challenge of, so wait a minute, I'm going to put my life on the line. I'm only going to get paid this much, and there's not going to be much for me at the end. I'm going to live a shorter life, so maybe I'm not going to see my kids grow up completely, definitely not going to see grandchildren, and we're just going to pretend like that doesn't matter when it comes to finances. We had that situation in Avon. We had, unfortunately, an officer who killed his wife and then took his own life. And I think about that a lot. I think about, that was one of the reasons why when this came up, I went to my colleagues and said, I'd really like to hear this. Because we're asking a lot of you, to say the least. I guess I keep going back to, I understand this is an expense on the towns, but as you said, and I think maybe you can even expand a little bit on that, it's more expensive not to. So anything on those lines that you could, just sort of close us out with, I'd really appreciate hearing.
So yes, it's more expensive not to, because eventually what's going to happen, you're just going to put butts in seats in police cars, and that's what it's coming to. We're putting people in police cars that I'm not sure they should really be there. Okay? And like I said, all it takes is one mistake. I mean, we looked at New Haven, just paid $45 million in a lawsuit. $45 million. That's a lot of money. Okay? So imagine every town has a problem like that. That's what's basically happening here. And I'm not taking anything away from the young people coming on, but we can do better. We can do a lot better. And if you don't have a pool to choose from, if there's no pool, you have to hire somebody, right? And you got to hope for the best. And with police officers and firemen, you don't want to hope for the best. You want the guy that shows up that knows what he's doing. He's going to know how to handle that situation, and you're going to have a positive outcome. Unfortunately, some things go sideways sometimes, and you don't have a positive outcome, but positive.
Right, and to that point, things do go sideways. We want the best trained, most psychologically able, and I'm looking at all of you and I'm thinking, you want the person whose butt is in the next seat to be that person who's got your backs and that you feel comfortable serving with, because that's a whole other level of this. I actually am testifying in public safety later this week, because we had a situation in Canton where unfortunately there was an officer who probably didn't belong in the force and eventually was shown the door, and that cost that town $800,000 in a settlement, because stuff happens, right?
That's
so
exactly right.
I would also just point out that when we're talking about pensions, like pilots, we wouldn't make them work this much overtime because they have lives in their hands. The machinists, we wouldn't, they've got pensions and they have all of their protections in place for their workplace. We wouldn't make them work overtime because God forbid, somebody could lose an arm, a hand, an eye, I think that we're missing the point here. We're just missing the point.
I have coffee in a local coffee shop in the morning. I stop in and I talk to the people, and everyone that I talk to there says the same thing. They're willing to pay more to get the best and the brightest. If that's what it takes, they'll pay more in taxes.
Yeah, it's we hear it about our teachers, we hear it about our police officers, we hear it about our firefighters, and often it comes down to about $17, $15 a family, or whatever it is. I mean, thank you for being here today, and again, thank you for all of your service, and thank you, Mr. Chair.